Welcome to the Million Dollar Multi-Op Podcast. Here, you're going to find education, entertainment, and a little inspiration on how to get to the next level. Are you a DJ company owner that's looking for the secret sauce? Congrats, you found it.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Million Dollar Multi-Op Podcast. I'm your host, David Osborne with BlueprintLearn.com. And check this out. You just heard his voice in the intro, those sultry, dulcet, Arkansas flavored tones. We've got an amazing guest, a real treat on the podcast today, my good friend, John Simmons. Come on, John. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, the sound effects. I forgot that they were there. I love it. I love it. Thank you for having me, David.
We got those live sound effects happening right now in the studio. What we don't tell people is there's actually a studio audience of 35 people. We're so close to the Augusta National. We just take the people from the golf tournament and they come in and all that stuff. We're just right here in my office at my house. Well, so many people know you from the online world. That's how I first met John virtually, I guess, was the DJ Woo Pig videos on YouTube. I remember checking some stuff out years ago, learning a few things here and there. Now I know him as a real friend in real life, the in-person friend. And I want you to know two things about John that if you don't know him already, you need to know. Number one, John owns a killer multi-op and AV production company in Arkansas called Crown Entertainment. And John is a proud father of two gorgeous children.
I'm proud of my family. If I can't do anything right, I can make beautiful kids, but the world will never see a third. So we got to.
I'm done at 4. You're done at 2. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Listen, I think the most impressive thing about John is the ability to make his own luck, right? Because all of us out there are trying to level up, trying to get to the next spot in life. And John makes it happen. John is a doer. He's a hustler. He has turned hustle into an art form. So John, I want you to talk about your approach to opportunity, to anything that comes your way. How and when do you say yes? And what's your approach?
All right. Well, that's an interesting question. How do I say yes? I typically say yes to just about anything. And that may be a blessing and a curse at the same time. Whenever, and it actually works out because you talked about my kids. Whenever Roman came along 3.5 years ago, the months leading up to him arriving into the world, there was a fire inside of me that I've got to figure out a way to provide for this child. You know, growing up in a fatherless home, single parent, especially now that I'm older and have my own kids, seeing the struggle that my mom had. I knew it was never going to be like that for me. My mom did the best that she could. And she taught me ultimately how to hustle, how to work hard. And if you work hard, good things will typically come. And that's just kind of how I've treated everything. And that, I think the people that watch me online and YouTube and all that stuff, they probably saw a change in my business plan and in my hustle mentality probably about 3 years ago, because I was literally so scared. I'm a 2-time college dropout. I don't have a backup plan. This has to work. But the only way that this works is if you do. And I just kind of took it to heart. Again, sometimes to my own demise, especially now that Roman knows if I say I'll see you later, it typically means I'll see you in a couple days because the time frame is kind of catching up to me. So now, that he's 3 and my business is changing even more as we speak. Now I'm trying to figure out how I can not only hustle myself, but also inspire my team to hustle harder too. Because ultimately what I'm trying to do is I want to create a community of people that love the Crown logo and mantra just as much as I do. And being an entrepreneur or business owner or whatever you do, once you build a team, it's now your job to inspire your team that this is going to work. And again, if your team doesn't see you working, they're probably not going to work either.
Yes, sir. I'm going to say that again. This only works if you do. I'm going to write that. I'm going to
And
tattoo it on my arm.
I know you've had some of my, we're all friends, the people that you've had on. They're I think they would all agree with me and say there's no shortcut, there's no roadmap, there's no easy way to make this thing work. You have to work, and creating your own luck is kind of a part of it. You create what you work on. Just like a pizza maker, dude working down at Papa John's. He's making that pizza, and so is the rest of the team. But if you want to make 12 pizzas or 20 pizzas or whatever it may be, you've now got to take your hustle and work ethic and instill it in these people that you call your teammates. And if they don't have it, I got nothing for you.
Every day I'm hustling.
Oh, man.
It is quick. I love it. I love it.
I love it so much. There's there's a really popular influencer right now in the business community, Alex Hormozy, and one of the things that I saw him say recently was like one of his little reels or something like that, or YouTube shorts, or I can't remember where I saw it. And he was blasting all these influencers for putting out their morning routines. You know, you get up and you meditate and you eat, you drink some kombucha and you whatever the routine was. And he goes, listen, all these people with these weird morning routines, that's not what made them successful. What really happened is they outworked everybody else, got successful, then they developed a weird morning routine.
And I'm in the same boat. I was actually talking to a friend of mine yesterday. I was reconciling my QuickBooks, and I just I spend a lot of money on Starbucks coffee. It's kind of absurd, but my justification in that is the past 10 years I've been working every day so I could have that Starbucks cup of coffee.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Is it you have the same order, don't you, every day?
Same order. Caramel latte, cinnamon cold foam every day.
Ooh, you got it on camera? Hold on. You gotta hold it up. This is a prize for everyone who's watching it, on YouTube.
I don't know if it'll zoom in on my, there we go.
Do you ever change your name, or do they know you? You're regular.
They know, and that's the thing. I tell people all the time, this is way off of the beaten path, but I think a part of the reason that I've been successful is because I don't ever go through the drive-thru, whether it's the bank or Starbucks or I don't do Walmart grocery pickup. I go inside. We are in a business of connecting people, and if you want to get to that next step, you've got to, networking. Even at Starbucks, I'll go in and they know me by name, and I see the regulars, and if I see somebody new or somebody interesting, I strike up conversation because I am. There's a phrase, always be selling. I forget what movie it's in. Mine is always be networking. You never know where that next paycheck is going to come from, and I don't mind taking money from anybody.
Me neither. Our AI is on fire today.
It's fantastic. I love it.
It's not AI. I always say it's not AI. It's IAN. Yeah, there we go. we got it locked down. Always be networking. Let me ask you this. Take a little bit of a left turn with networking. Do you have a strategy? And it's okay if you don't. I'm putting you on the spot here. Do you have a strategy for finding a common connection with someone new quickly?
Now that I have children, I think most people in our age bracket, David, and that's 25 to 45, I would say. Those who have experienced a little bit of life, but still probably have some learning to do. I always lead with my kids. They're easy to talk about. That's the first thing whenever we popped onto this call. We talked about our kids. And then from there, the conversation, I hate to have those elevator pitches of, what do you do for a living? Well, I do a lot of different things. But I lead with trying to be a good dad, a good husband, and a good boss.
Yes. I like that. So lead with your kids, find that common connection. And somewhere I learned recently, I can pop this on here as a little instructional nugget maybe, is something called, I call it the interesting intro. And I feel like if you can just say who you are, and that includes your company, and then what you do and what result you get. That's enough.
I tell my team, you've got to have a 30-second elevator pitch that you're passionate about, that you understand. And it's kind of like, it's like having, whenever you go to your social media bio and, mine says dad, father, husband, entrepreneur. You've got to have those kind of bullet points in your head that you can throw at somebody in 30 seconds, but also leave it kind of open ended. So then they ask those questions.
Yes. I like people to kind of know, does this person match me? Like where do we lay? What's the lay of the land? Let's see the topography as fast as possible.
Yeah.
When I talk about our DJ company, I always say, "Hey, I'm David with Sound Insight. We help really fun couples have rager receptions." And they go, and I go, "Wait a minute, a rager? Gross! I don't want that." I'm like, "Good. I don't want to talk to you either." They're like, "Well, I'm not a couple. I'm a local business owner. Could you throw us a party?" Like, it'll generate questions, and that's kind of what we want to go for, which is nice. So speaking of your team and trying to instill the hustle in your team and trying to instill the brand consistency and the idea of a pitch to be able to talk to other people, something that I know about you is that in the past recent memory, I don't know, a year, 2 years, I've watched your business grow. I call it parabolic growth. I've watched you just become very successful.
Diabolical growth. It's insane.
We'll put some adjectives with this. Diabolical, parabolic growth. Let's go.
It's to be completely honest with you, I don't know how it happened. That's my honest reality. I have a little idea of how we got here. I think that was me. If you've heard me talk, I always say yes and figure it out. I've been doing a lot of that for the past 3 years. The one thing that I did whenever Roman came, we were kind of in the AV realm doing some rock shows and subbing in for people. But when Roman came, I knew that this is I love the art of DJing. Weddings just aren't my thing so much anymore. But it was one of those things where it was kind of holding the business down, so you can't get rid of it. So now it's, how do I build a team so they can go do this, and I can kind of do what I want to do. The last thing I think, as entrepreneurs, we don't want to live in a lie. Everybody says, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's kind of how I felt about DJing. It became work, and I didn't enjoy it. So what can I do? I can help. I can help some young people and young talent in my area find something that they like to do. Hopefully, they pick up the skill and craft as much as I do. And then once I was able to build a team there, I could focus all of my attention into trying to make this AV company work. And when we say AV, there's a lot of different ways you could have an AV company, whether it be corporate stuff. We do a lot of rock and roll shows. I'm a musician at heart, and the same kind of jitters that most people get right before they introduce the couple. I get those same jitters when the lights go off and the stage goes blue and you see the band walk up, and you just feel, that kick drum, boom, right to the chest, lights come up. It's like, it's almost euphoric. And I wanted to figure out a way to make it work. And a lot of it was taking, jobs that we had no business doing, to be completely honest with you. And trying to figure out a way to make it work, creating the client, creating the relationship with the client. The client doesn't know that we don't own any of that shit that's on stage. We rented every bit of it. I'm not going to make a dime. If I can capture that client and figure out a way to get to next year, then I can make it work. And that's really kind of a lot of what I did. Took a lot of jobs with gear I didn't own, making a 3 or 4% profit margin on a week-long show. But this time next year, now, that one show turned into 2 shows, 2 turned into 3, and now we do some cool stuff.
And I'm sure that profit margin has changed too.
Profit margin, man, I try not to take a job anything less than 40% profit margin. Doesn't always work out like that. On the DJ side, we do a little bit better. On the production side, it's just those numbers, they get big and all the stuff gets tacked on. So it's tough. Um, but yeah, I think I've always kind of had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. I think most business owners do. The first time somebody tells you that you can't do it or your dreams sound crazy, man, I'm going to prove you wrong. I've got big dreams. Like Coachella is at the top.
Yes.
Why not me? I think too many people have a mentality that this little poison box, as David calls it, everybody on social media, is either an expert or trying to tell you what you can and can't do. Ultimately, you've got to put those blinders on and just be willing to outwork everyone that says you're not gonna make it.
Bro, always inspiring. I was wondering when you're going to get the level up.
Leveled up.
You got to get the level up. So I want to make a couple connections here of what you just said. So, because I've had some similarities. We don't have a rock and roll AV side to our company or anything, but I was a performing trumpet player, and that was my life. That was my passion. I would hang my hat on it. I would write that as my bio. Who is David? David's a professional trumpet player. And even when I was a teacher, David's still a professional musician. Like, that was my identity. And so when I decided to give that up, I was a professional DJ at the time. And I had to like really wrestle with the idea of going from leaving this thing that was my identity to stepping into this new thing that was a new identity. But what took some, reflective work to understand was the thing that I loved about both things was the same thing. Mm-hmm. It just was presented to the world differently. There was something that I could work on, something that the harder I worked, the better it got. The more I practiced, the better I got. The more I put into it, the more I got out of it. I love that part of things. I love the performance aspect. I love the people aspect. I love the problem solving of how to get better. So it was just moving from one thing to the next.
Well, I was going to say the problem solving. I think I finally reached that level of business to where I don't necessarily have to be out in the field all the time. And now I'm just trying to put out these mini fires inside of my head. Sometimes I don't give myself enough credit. I don't feel like you probably don't give yourself enough credit either. We'll have team members calling us and, I'm rattling off information and how we can fix it and what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to do it. And this solves the problem. And my admin, she told me the other day, she's like, I don't know how you keep up with it. And I just say, I love putting out fires. Mm-hmm. And I think that's every business. Once you get to that point where you're just putting out fires, I think a lot of us as true entrepreneurs really thrive in that. It's not the thing. It's the how we're going to get to the thing.
Yeah. And I think for you, John, there's got to be some sort of common flame here that DJing, producing shows, being a CEO and growing a company, whatever, being a dad, it's all about helping people solve their problems. Because I think that's something that links the two of us and something that we both have in common. But helping people solve their problems, but also helping other people feel like someone cares about them. And when you go in, instead of using the drive-through, you want those people to know you care about them. And that is why your business grew diabolically, right? It's not because you set out on paper and you're like, well, next year we're going to increase by 25%. You're like, I'm just going to be a great person. I'm going to always say yes. I'm going to hustle my face off, and it's just going to happen.
If you hustle, you're going to get real lucky. The harder, somebody has said this before, but the harder you hustle, the luckier you get.
It's absolutely true. There's a few professionals that you know and I know, and I won't name drop them. I'm just going to say that they are, I would call them heavy hitters in the event entertainment industry, and they're friends of ours that have said to me directly, well, now I'm just the expert in this thing, and I'm like, what, you just call yourself the expert of that thing? They're like, now I just have to live up to it. And I'm like, why not you? So we live in a country where we say anyone can be anything, and why not you? So it's a matter of, for a lot of people, it's just a matter of saying, I am going to now be this thing, and then doing all of the work necessary to become that thing and prioritize it and put it on your calendar and move the needle. And you have this vision. It's all rooted in like, I'm going to provide for my kids. and I'm going to move this mountain. Ready, go, and raise chicken.
And I know everybody wants to hear numbers because without growth is cool, but like without a number to tie it to, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
And I can actually pull this up on my phone because me and my CPA are talking about it next week. The diabolical growth that we have had all through a recession. In 2019, we did 194,000. 2020, we did 358,000.
Through a pandemic, let's go.
2021, we did 954,000. And last year we did 1,078,000. So it's the growth is, and that's not it's not to brag. It's really not to brag. I think those who know me and know my heart know that I'm not bragging. And those numbers they only mean a very minuscule thing because at the end of the day I got 10 employees and a bunch of overhead. So the numbers are the numbers. But that's all just to say that you can do the same thing if you find that path, find a mentor, find a coach, and find your tribe of people that will push you to get there. I'm not going to say it's not hard, but it's probably easier than you think.
It is definitely hard, and it is definitely worth it. So much of the improvement that you can find in business and it is completely parallel to the improvement that you make as a human. So a lot of the times the things that are holding you back in business are things that are holding you back in your personal life or your mindset or your limiting beliefs or whatever it might be, or your willingness to work or your work ethic. And if you have to, I mentioned this, I think on another podcast with Justin, when let's say you're an aspiring singer, if you want to have a better tone to your voice, you have to listen to other singers and emulate other things. So if you're stuck, like John said, you have to find a mentor or a coach who's done it, who's been there, who can show you, oh, I just did it like this. And you're like, whoa, it's like when the first person ran like a 4-minute mile. Before that, it was impossible. And as soon as people are like, no, you can do it, all of a sudden people do it all the time. So it's seeing that it's possible helps so many people.
I would say, we're both affiliated with some pretty powerful circles in the entertainment, private sector. Just being able, even before we were a part of Tank or whatever it is, I still believe those connections that you can make within your own market can pay huge dividends. Just like you and Torin are basically in the same. I wouldn't say the same market, but you're close enough. You're close enough to where there could be some uncomfortable conversations. But I think what both of you guys have done is you've taken what makes you both strong and kind of batted that off of each other. And I think ultimately it's probably made both of your companies stronger.
100%.
Am I reaching?
No, shout out to Torin.
Great dude.
He's a great dude. We're working on some stuff behind the scenes as well. By the way, don't want to drop any info. Speaking of dropping some info, I want to go ahead and tell some folks where to be excited to see you coming up in the spring. I can talk about it, right?
Yeah, you can talk about it. I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay. Well, this April, it's the end of April, I think, right? It's like the very end of April now. Midwest DJs Live. This year's MC, Master of Ceremonies, is none other than your boy, John Simmons.
I'm excited. I got a chance to MC, like really MC my first conference this summer. And I walked away from that. Again, it's a group of my peers. They're always gonna do their best to make you feel good. But I asked some people, look, what do you honestly think? And a good friend of mine, Jeff Craig up in New York, he's got accounts with Google and IBM, and he's like, no, man, you've never done this before? And I was like, no, I've never done this before. Just to hear people say that that you're good at a thing. I think sometimes We don't hear that enough. Company owners, tell your team they're good. Pump them up. I mean, just having people pour into me at a time where I probably really needed it, man, it meant a lot. And then a couple months later, I get an email that says, "Hey, I heard you did a great job at a conference this summer, and I'd love to have you come and MC my thing." What a I'm not gonna cry, but it just makes you feel good, man. I'm excited. I'm excited.
You are a great MC, and hey, I'd like to put in a little bit of responsibility, because I remember there was an education committee meeting that you happened to miss that day that we were choosing the MC for that conference, and I happened to be like, well, I'm nominating John, and John's not here to say no.
And I will say, those who are closest to you, if they're not pushing you to be a better version of yourself, if they're not challenging you, if they're not inspiring you to grow beyond business, you probably don't need those people in your circle. So, David, I say thank you for making me a little uncomfortable, get me out of my comfort zone, because now I want to keep doing this. Maybe this is a new avenue. Maybe it's DJ slash show producer slash MC. Who knows?
Ooh, I
Why
like
not
that.
me?
Why not you? And that's a perfect way to end. Why not you? Everyone listening out there, I want you to think, why not you? You're listening to this podcast for inspiration, education, entertainment. Why not you? I think that's amazing. Everything that you heard today was just straight gold from my friend John. Real quick, blueprintlearn.com/resources. As you're listening, if you find anything that you're listening to that you want to learn some more about, we've got free resources on the website. John, let's end this thing with you. Oh, you got a little. I saw your hand up.
Oh yeah, I was raising my hand. And David's not paying me to say it. He told me not to bring up the blueprint. In back to building a business, I'll add this one little caveat. If you think you can do it by yourself, you are sadly mistaken, and you will painfully fail. The blueprint has opened up so many hours of my time not having to train these team members that I have, that we hire them and then they go to the blueprint and they're out on the job, and I'm not out there anymore. It helps me kind of keep my fingerprint, my pulse on my own business. I can't say enough good things about Blueprint. Just a little go, David. It really is worth every penny and some. So do yourself a favor. If you're not a Blueprint member already, I suggest that you at least get on with David so he can better explain what the Blueprint does. And I know David is probably segueing into how people can find more of me. If you want to reach out to me, Instagram, Facebook, all of the stuff, DJ Woopig, or John at crownentgroup.com. Send me an email so you can get a pure, unbiased opinion on how the Blueprint can work for you, because I really think it can.
Yes, sir. Thank you again, John. And for everybody listening, we'll see you on the next podcast.